Other interesting business news, T-Mobile saying they're going to lay off about 5,000 employees. Now, in terms of the correlation to their overall company, that's going to equate to about 7% of their workforce being laid off. Now, the good news is, in terms of the folks who are, feet on the streets, kind of working in the actual stores, it's not going to affect them mostly. It's going to be mostly the corporate jobs. So a lot of back office logistics, and not to sound too pejorative, but there's a lot of fat layers and bureaucracy when it comes to a lot of corporate America. When I used to work at one of the largest tech companies in the world, I can swear, there were people who had jobs just for the sake of having jobs. Like, there's no reason for them to be there. No one can really tell me why they should be getting a paycheck, but there are thousands of people at these companies. Yeah, it's very hard once you get to a certain company size, unless you're very proficient and you're very careful about the growth rates and the job definitions and making sure you're getting ROI. There's a lot of jobs that just kind of exist for the sake of existing, as crazy as that sounds. Now, it looks like they're trying to become more and more competitive, trying to go up against the two giant behemoths in the industry, which would be AT&T as well as Verizon. But even those companies are struggling. Just 2 or 3 months ago, or no, perhaps 6 weeks ago, there's an issue where it turns out AT&T as well as Verizon, they had some issues where they actually had lead inside of some of the wiring that they put down, because it was industry practice when they did it decades ago. Now they have lead. It was lead protected wires in the ground. Yeah, spoiler alert, that's not so great for local drinking water supply. So there's going to be a lot of lawsuits. There's going to be a lot of costs in terms of you have to dig it up and replace it with something else. So it'll be interesting. No one knows really how much that's going to cost. Now, another thing that T-Mobile is going up against, AT&T and Verizon, they both, very similar to the business models of Amazon, they have different business segments that can take losses and offset their telecom business. So AT&T, Verizon, they all have television offerings, they all have additional phone offerings. T-Mobile is much more concise. They have fewer products to offer, so they can't do the loss leader. Whereas AT&T, if you go into a new home, they could say, hey, we're going to give you cable. Why not buy a house phone if you're 58 million years old or something like that? But there's other ways they could supplement and they could offset the losses from one product line to the other product line. T-Mobile, they really can't do that. So when AT&T lowers the price of their wireless plans and their cell phone plans, T-Mobile, they can do that partially because other parts of the business can make up for that loss. T-Mobile can't really do that. So it'll be interesting to see. They're trying to get more competitive. They're trying to get more market share. And in doing so, they're trying to cut their costs so they can decrease the cost to the end user and the consumer. But will it be enough to actually attract new customers? It's one of those things where a lot of people, it's a very sticky business in terms of sticky being a business term where once you stick with a product or a service, more often than not, the person will stay there. It's very similar to banking. It's more rare for people to actually move to a different bank once they've established a relationship with one already. So it'll be interesting to see, is this enough for T-Mobile to decrease their costs so they compete more with the big boys? Or are they just doing this, I also suspect they're doing this just to cope with the economic uncertainty, as a lot of businesses are trying to get more cash reserves so that they can have a rainy day fund, so to say. But it'll be interesting to see it. They've always been the third place in telecom, but it'll be interesting to see if they can catch up. But I was gonna say I'm not a gambler too much for the stock market. Let's just say I wouldn't put my money there. But again, this is not financial advice. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. Again, we're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of August, so you can click that button and greatly appreciate it. Also, don't forget to take the time to like as well as comment. The feedback is greatly appreciated, helps the channel grow and develop. Also, and lastly, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.